Hello and welcome to Kingston Now. I'm Jimmy Buff. This past Monday evening, we took the show to SUNY Ulster for a forum hosted by Ulster County Executive Mike Hein to address issues with the management of the New York City water supply and how it affects Ulster County. It was a packed room with over 300 Ulster County residents waiting to address representatives from the New York City Department of Environmental Protection and from New York State's Department of Environmental Conservation, the two organizations responsible for the policies that affect the reservoir system in upstate New York. At issue is the release of turbid or muddy water from the reservoir, some 600 million gallons a day, that has turned the lower Esopus brown, and an aqueduct leak in Wawarsing that is flooding homes and businesses there. The meeting was over 2 hours long, and due to our time limits here, we can't show you the entire event. But beginning tomorrow, you can stream the entire meeting via a link on our Facebook page. Tonight, we're going to show you some excerpts of the meeting, and we'll also spend a few minutes with County Executive Mike Hein at the end of the program. In fact, we'll also start with Mike Hein and his opening statement.
You know, there are three issues that I believe we have to touch base on tonight. Actually, there's probably much more, but there's three that I'll touch on. First and foremost, unnatural flooding in Wawarsing. The second is what I believe is a failure to pay their fair share of property taxes throughout Ulster County. And last but not least is what I believe is a travesty in the lower Esopus. Let's talk briefly about what we have. Wawarsing. The people of Wawarsing for how long now? 3, 5, 10? How many years has it been that cracks in the aqueduct, unnatural flooding has occurred, and these people have had to live in conditions you can only imagine if you see it firsthand? Fountains erupting in their basements. Mold. Places you would never want to be forced to live, they are forced to live. And ultimately, what was brought forward was a potential buyout program. When I looked at the numbers, it doesn't cover half the houses. It's simply not enough. When we talk about paying their fair share of property taxes, I'm sure you'll hear from a town supervisor or two tonight. You know what they are faced with? Some very difficult decisions. First and foremost, they can take on the New York City DEP when they come to lower their assessment. And then when they bring their mountain of attorneys with them, they can try that. And it will cost them hundreds of thousands of dollars and drive them to a place near bankruptcy. It's the same money, by the way, that would be used to pay for roads, plows, local shares of taking care of a whole host of issues to serve local people. So they have to make a choice. They can either fight them in court or they can somehow settle for something less than their fair share. Well, the problem is when they pay less than their fair share, the people of Ulster County have to pay more than their fair share. And what it results in is Ulster County residents subsidizing New York City water rates. And that is fundamentally unfair. And what I have said, it's un-American. I guarantee you if the leaks in Wawarsing were happening in Queens, they'd be fixed tomorrow. Now let's talk about the lower Esopus. The people along the lower Esopus have had to make some very interesting choices. The choices that they have to make is, are they going to be okay with being flooded on a very regular basis because the Metropolitan New York City DEP decides to keep the water levels in the reservoir simply too high? And why are they too high? Is it because they haven't undertaken major conservation efforts in the city? I don't know. Is it because they have significant loss of water on the way to New York City? I don't know. What I do know is this. Every time there's a major storm, the people along the lower Esopus are flooded. And it's simply unacceptable. So what's the other choice? The other choice they have left us with, again, it's mud or flood. So the other choice is 600 million gallons of concentrated muddy water flowing down the lower Esopus and spewing into the Hudson River. It's not water that makes it to New York City. I guess it's severely diluted maybe when it gets there, but I'll tell you what happens to that water. It makes a right-hand turn, heads down the Hudson River, and runs flat into the drinking water intake for the town of Esopus. Can I ask you a question? When did the health of a child in Esopus in Ulster County become less important than a child in Manhattan? Ladies and gentlemen, this is New York State. This is America. We are one New York. And I don't want this to be the upstate, downstate battleground. But I will tell you one thing, I will not go away. I will fight for the people of Ulster County, and we're going to make damn sure that things change here in Ulster County. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you.
This is Kingston Now, and you're watching coverage of this past Monday's public forum about issues with New York City management of the reservoirs in Ulster County. Next, we'll hear from Carter Strickland, Deputy Commissioner of the New York City DEP, and Mark Gertzman, Deputy Commissioner of the State DEC. Stay tuned. Welcome back to Kingston Now. The reservoirs in Ulster County are operated by the New York City DEP and the New York State DEC. At the forum on Monday at SUNY Ulster, Carter Strickland from the DEP and Mark Gertzman from the DEC each made a brief statement before hearing directly from the residents of Ulster County. Here are those statements.
Obviously, this is an area that is of extreme importance to the community, to the Lower Esopus, to Ulster County in general, and we are pleased to be able to listen to your concerns, to respond where we have the information, but to let you know that this process will be designed to build a partnership between City DEP, Ulster County, and the Department of Environmental Conservation. We're anxious to find solutions to the problems. These are very, very complex issues. It involves protection of the drinking water supply for 9 million people. It involves the protection of your community, and it involves the protection of the ecological resources that we find in the Lower Esopus. We're very mindful of those resources. We're very mindful of the impacts that have occurred to the Lower Esopus communities, and we're here to listen and to find out more about what the concerns are and how we can help translate them into solutions. We are committed to an open process and to a public process. One of the first steps that we took was to release an interim protocol for comment, a protocol designed to understand and control the various releases that occur from the Ashokan Reservoir. We're continuing to accept comments on that protocol, and we invite you to submit them as you get the opportunity to do so. We can provide you with the website location where you can provide those comments. That will be an ongoing process, and we believe for the first time in the last year, we've developed a protocol that is public, is understandable, and is based upon science. We're not done with that protocol. We're continuing to work on that protocol, and your comments, suggestions on how we can do that are more than welcome. In addition, we will be embarking upon an environmental impact statement and environmental review of the proposed Cat Allen permit, as it's called. The environmental review will consider the scientific aspects of each of the potential releases from the Ashokan Reservoir. And we invite you, and in fact, we encourage you to participate in that process. We'll make sure that you have the opportunity. We'll work with County Executive Hein to make sure that the community is involved, and we will continue the open dialogue and discussion that we've initiated under Commissioner Martens to be able to hear what your concerns are and respond with scientifically based technical protocols to protect both the resource and the drinking water supply of 9 million people.
As you know, DEP provides water to 8 million people in New York City and 1 million upstate residents, including here in the county, High Falls and New Paltz. We view our upstate communities as partners in that effort. We really do, and I do think as I go through this, recall maybe where we were a few years ago, I do think we've already turned that corner, and I'll explain what I mean by that. We've spent, for example, just as an example, $49 million for septic repairs, building the Boyceville wastewater treatment plant, sewer extensions, stormwater retrofits, salt storage, and the like. And we want to continue that. We know we have to invest in the county. We do pay $27 million in Ulster County taxes. I'm sure I'll get a question on that, so we'll leave the specifics there. I will say that's more than we spend in other west of Hudson counties. I'll close with this. I do think you've seen in the last few years requests made by stakeholders, local stakeholders in the county itself, maintain voids. We are working now, we have an interim protocol, which everybody's free to comment on, to maintain those voids. We can do it, and maybe I'll get to the chart in the question. We've been maintaining that void largely through the release channel, but there's other, parts of the protocol. We've also been asked to maintain some community flows, stream-based flows. We've done that. We've been asked to take a look and develop a plan to address the leaks in Warsing and Roaston as well. We've done that. We've launched a $2.1 billion capital project. It's going to take a lot of effort, but we're starting now. So we've been listening, we've been making commitments, and we've been living up to those commitments. We know it's not the end of the commitments, but we think that it should set the right tone for what we're talking about tonight. Thank you.
You're watching Kingston Now, and up next it's some of the public comments about the problems the reservoirs in Ulster County are causing residents. This is Kingston Now. This past Monday evening, at a public forum held at SUNY Ulster, a capacity crowd had a chance to directly address representatives from New York City and New York State about the issues they faced as a result of policy surrounding the release of water from the Ashokan Reservoir and the leaking aqueduct in Warsing. The length of the meeting, it lasted more than 2 hours, prevents us from showing many of the questions. However, you can see the full hearing beginning tomorrow by going to the Kingston Now Facebook page. Here now, then, is a montage of some of the questions posed on Monday evening.
And what I would say is there's only one solution. You either drop the voids down 20% in the spring and the fall and run it 10% the rest of the time, or come to all the homeowners in the town of Hurley and offer the 2005 fair market value for their homes, buy them out, and then you can, if you want to flood there, then all you have to do is take care of the farmland.
We in the town of Rochester don't receive any New York City money at all. We just receive the excess water from the Rondout Reservoir.
I think that the DEC and DEP representatives here this evening know that the working group stakeholders, which include a number of Ulster County town supervisors, environmental groups, including Lower Esopus Watershed Partnership and the county, were very disappointed that we were not afforded a more active role in developing the interim protocol for releases from the Ashokan Reservoir. This was particularly so in light of DEC's and DEP's January 2011 pledge to work with a broad group of stakeholders to facilitate a frank dialogue and exchange of ideas and information to inform operational decisions and to take steps to avoid turbid releases in the future. It does not appear that either of these promises has been kept.
I live in Ulster County and I love Ulster County. And if you look around this room, you're going to see that we are not the weakest link. What has happened to the Ashokan, the reservoir? What has happened to my eagles? How are my eagles going to raise young this year? It is said that with eagles, they instinctively know not to breed if there is going to be a problem with having food for their young. What about my eagles? They can't fish. How can they fish in the Ashokan Reservoir? What you have done to the reservoir and to the Esopus is criminal. If any of us did this, we would be fined and we would be jailed. It is criminal.
So, as I say, I've gone to New York many times. I'd like Mayor Bloomberg to come up here and look at our place. We go down to New York all the time, look at New York. They should come up here and look at Ulster County and share it. And I know a lot of people here belong to organizations that are nationwide, environmental groups, and we support environmental issues all throughout the country. And therefore, New York City should be doing the same thing. And look at our Muddy Creek and get it cleaned up.
Commissioner, with all due respect, we didn't build the reservoir system. You guys did. And so if it's faltering now, and you may not need the water, and what? We're supposed to have to live with whatever comes of that? It's simply an unacceptable answer. The answer here is very simple. You have to manage your water system, and manage it in a way that doesn't harm the people of our community.
I've been living up here for 45 years. I've seen plenty of rain. I've never seen this amount of brown water. And you can't blame it on Hurricane Irene. I mean, this is unacceptable to me. I mean, it does have some impact on it, but there's something going on that you people are not letting us know.
Local businesses have suffered significant economic impacts. Recreation and tourism revenue have declined. Increased flow and creek bank saturation have increased the occurrences of flooding and caused septic system failures and property values to decline.
And you are an embarrassment to me. This is not how you treat people who come before you to talk about things that bother them. Shame on you.
And you see the sign? This was my sign when I came in, and I was told to sit down. It says reserved. I do not want this to be my epitaph, that Laura Smith died on 42 Smith Road because of mold inhalation, because of stress-related illnesses, and because of the DEP's problem. Thank you very much for your time.
And water is basically life, as we all know, not only for man, but for trees, people, animals, fish, and all life. Without water, there is no life.
We've heard a lot about protocols, we've heard a lot about studies. All of these things, unfortunately, take time. These people don't have time with mold in their basement. It's insidious, it's a killer. I hope that you are not only listening tonight, but you soon will be doing. These people want to see things move forward. They're tired of treading water.
Do you agree it would be fair to hold the DEP to the same environmental standards that apply to everyone else in New York?
You're watching Kingston Now. We'll wrap up with Ulster County Executive Mike Hein next. Welcome once again to Kingston Now. We had a chance to talk with Mike Hein after the public forum he organized on Monday to address the problems faced by area residents impacted by the reservoirs in Ulster County.
Ulster County Executive Mike Hein, you issued an open letter to the residents of Ulster County. They responded tonight. Are you heartened by the turnout?
Obviously, we were thrilled with the turnout tonight. The level of support from the people of our community who have simply come out and said, we want our voices heard. That's what this forum was really all about. It's a step in the process, an opportunity for people to come out and lay out for the DEP and the DEC high-level officials exactly what their concerns are, and that's what we've attempted to do here tonight. And really, to be bottom line here, we've said to the DEP there are issues you need to address. First and foremost, you can't have the kind of flooding that you have, which is artificial flooding caused by leaks in your pipes for the people in Wawarsing. You also can't have a situation in which you don't pay your fair share of property taxes and you put the communities in a situation where they're subsidizing New York water rates. And last but not least, you have to address the situation on the lower Esopus. We cannot and should not have to put up with the mismanagement that has left us with either flood or mud, and that's what we have right now. And so this is an opportunity for us to really step forward. The question will really come tomorrow and the day after, which is the DEP prepared to make fundamental changes in their relationship with the people of Ulster County? The people of Ulster County came out and their voices were heard loud and clear tonight.
Did you hear anything new from the DEP or the DEC tonight?
Well, again, the DEC and the DEP talking about being able to open up for public comment. Much of the actions that they're taking these are actions that used to take place behind closed doors. So they're opening that process. But ultimately, DEP is going to have to make the fundamental decision that their relationship with upstate New York has to change. And now we're going to find out if they're willing to do that.
If Mayor Bloomberg and New York City don't take appropriate and timely action, what is your next recourse?
Well, again, we live in the United States of America, and where, you know what? The David and Goliath situation doesn't always have to win with the big guy winning. So we will go to court. We will do whatever we need to do, and we will fight whatever resources we have at our disposal to not allow the people of Ulster County to be run over simply because they're not 9 million people.
We know this is an issue for the residents of Ulster County, but do the residents of New York City understand what's going on? I saw you talking to a New York Times reporter a few moments ago. Is that going to help?
Ultimately, I believe that the people of New York City are good people, and they understand that turn the spigot, water comes out. That's the important part. We don't want water rates to go up. I understand that too, but there's a truth here. I also know that they wouldn't want to live in a situation where they're getting water and the folks in Wawarsing are forced to live in mud and unhealthy situations. They wouldn't want to be in a situation when what they're doing to the lower Esopus is disgraceful and breaking the Clean Water Act. And they wouldn't want to be in a situation where they're breaking people out of their homes because they can't pay the tax bill because they're forced to pay some of New York City's property taxes.
This has become a defining issue for the Ulster County Executive's office. Who handled this stuff before you did?
Well, that was one of the problems. Again, before this form of government, when we had an individual to be able to speak on behalf of all the people of Ulster County, to be able to coordinate these kinds of efforts, what was happening was it was impossible for the kinds of situation to be able to be brought to the forefront like it is, for us to put the focus on this issue, and for us to make swift decisions, because unfortunately we were up against people who can make swift decisions and who can spend a lot of money and who can do really ultimately whatever they want in a community if the community can't fight back. Well, Ulster County is fighting back, and we are not going to allow this to stand.
So what is the priority? What would you like to see happen next?
Begin making things whole for the folks in Wawarsing. The folks in Wawarsing have been waiting for over a decade to have a buyout program because of leaks, not natural leaks. Again, flooding in their homes, deep flooding and dangerous mold and all the kinds of issues associated with that because of leaks in the system of New York City's aqueduct system. So I'd like them to make that number whole, put enough money in there so that we can actually be able to help these people. That's step one. Step two, you have to pay your fair share of property taxes, because if you don't, the people of Ulster County are subsidizing New York City water rate, and that is fundamentally wrong. And last but not least, let's clean up the lower Esopus. Whatever engineering is necessary to be able to make that happen, you need to be willing to take those kinds of steps, because it's completely unfair for the people of Ulster County to suffer with quality of water significantly worse than any water going to New York City.
Ulster County Executive Mike Hein, thanks for your time.
You're more than welcome. Thank you so much for having me.
That's it for Kingston Now this week. Once again, to see the entire hearing, go to the Kingston Now Facebook page beginning tomorrow. I'm Jimmy Buff. See you next time.